you're all set to go.
Yes.
My name is Rona Balco, and I'm with the Friends of the Oxbow. And I've been involved with vernal pool work for about 4 years now. And I think it's fabulous, all the materials that are coming out on this through grants. And I was absolutely delighted to come and talk to you today, because anything I can do to promote this, I will do it. And as you This is a vernal pool. And a vernal pool is a wicked big puddle. And as you see, it's summertime and it's all dried up. So you wouldn't even know it was there. A vernal pool has water in it for a minimum of, let's say, 3 months. And so that just gives these critters enough of time to have their babies grow up. There are no fish in these pools. They can't live in these areas because it dries up. And that's another special reason why these critters choose these places as their breeding grounds and to raise their babies, because they get the best chance of surviving. This is the same pool that has filled up, and as you can see, it's much bigger than it looks like in the picture before this. This would be the fall water coming in, and this is the problem. Most people don't even know they're there. This is an open one. This is more of a marshland. This is one of the amazing things about these pools, is every single one is different. It can be a marsh, it can be a swamp, it can be 6 feet in diameter and have everything in it. It can have a lot of vegetation. It can just be a little hole with no vegetation and a sandy bottom. It is quite an adventure. And this is a closed pool. So it would take longer for this pool for the critters to come out because it's shaded. It would take longer for the babies to grow because the water wouldn't heat up as quickly. So there's all kinds of things that come into play here. As I said, it's really something. We use maps to help us try to figure out where they might be. This is a development. This vernal pool is, as you can see, being destroyed. The developers, the farmers before them did not know how important they were, and they got filled in. This is one of the reasons why this program has started. It's to try and make people aware that they're there so that we can protect them. This pool has been completely destroyed. And by the time they get through with the development, the grassy area in the middle is now what used to be a vernal pool. It would be called a swale. And they've destroyed the habitat all around. The wood frogs, the salamanders live in the areas around the vernal pools in the woods. They have a 50-foot buffer zone protection now. It is not enough. There should be at least 100. We need to figure out where these critters are coming from and protect that area. If you put a road through it or a swale like this, you're totally disrupting them. These critters will only go back to their birth pool. They will not go to another pool. You know, the birds all come back to their nesting. These do it too. These are one of my favorite little friends, and these are female wood frogs. These are the only frogs that quack. They go quack, 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 and they have a much deeper voice. You will hear the spring peepers sing just about the same time, and they go beep, 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 okay? So if you roll your windows down in the car and you hear a quack, 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 you know you're near a vernal pool, automatically. And there are other things you can look for. I'm going crazy now because I open the windows and I can just tell by the vegetation on the road or if there's an opening. But the more you do, the more you learn. The more you don't know, the more you need to know. So it gets pretty exciting. These two female wood frogs are quite full of eggs, as you can see. And they're on their way to the pool. Aren't they beautiful? You don't usually see them. Both these wood frogs and the salamanders, as soon as they go to the pools to lay their eggs, they go back up into the woods around the pool and hide back under the vegetation, so we don't really see them. So if you have bulldozers going through, you're destroying their habitat without even knowing they're there. So this is another reason why we're trying to bring more awareness to these special places. This is a pair of wood frogs that are mating. The eggs are really not that blue, it's the camera, but the wood frogs will mate in this manner. And these are the pockets or packets of eggs. Each one of those big ones would be from one frog. As they get older, they will lay bigger packets. In the pools, the different critters will lay their eggs. The wood frog will lay her eggs on top of the pool, on the surface, and attach them to sticks or to grasses. And they do this to hold them in place so that the predators that will come out in the bottom of the pool won't eat them. They have to swim up to get them. The salamanders, on the other hand, will lay their eggs either halfway down or on the bottom. So their eggs are actually more protected because as time goes on, water in the pool will start to go down. And a couple of years ago, they all came out, did their thing, and then we had a very cold spell and lots of snow, and I'd say 80% of the eggs were killed. So they're not as smart as the salamanders. But it's interesting to see how they all do different things. These are wood frog egg masses, and this is the right color. It's like a jelly mass that floats on top. And once you know what you're looking for and you see them, you can just spot them. And we do count them to see how prolific or how used a pool is by all these different critters. This is a little wood frog tadpole and has such beautiful colors. The legs are striped and there's a little line through the middle that has the little gold spots and copper color. And that's one way you can identify a tadpole for a wood frog. See, he's got his tail, he's got both sets of legs. When the tail disappears, then he'll be an adult, but he's well on his way. I would say he's an adolescent at this point. And this is our first salamander, a yellow spotted salamander. And they're quite big. And on big night, the wood frogs and these yellow spotted salamanders are the first critters to go to the pool. You can be there during the daytime and look, and there's no activity at all, none, even if it's raining. They only come out at night. They must have the rain to travel. They breathe through their skin, so that if they don't have the moisture, their skin will dry up, they can't breathe, and they will die. So it's critical that there's moisture. This little guy is so anxious to get there that he's going right across the ice and the snow to get there. One of the problems with the developments is that they put up silt fencing around them. We had a pool where we had to go out and we rescued 40 yellow spotted salamanders that could not make it to the pool and 20 wood frogs. They were going to die because that silt fencing became an absolute barrier and they could not get through. If we had not gone and gotten them to the pool, the viability of that pool would have gone way, way down. So it's very important that we try to help them. Now here are a couple of salamanders. As you see, the female in the background is full of eggs too. And you see the yellow spotted salamander on the road. There are some towns that actually close the roads down so that the salamanders and wood frogs can migrate across the road safely. It's really wonderful because you can't see them in a car if you're driving along, and you'll smush them all. You know, so if you know of a pool, we'll have more people out there saying, please go around the other way. But they actually put up barriers, and everybody knows it, and they just come to watch. But as I said, you can be there at 6 o'clock at night. You don't see a thing. There's no movement. And by 9 or 10 o'clock at night, the place is just jamming. I mean, everybody has arrived. And I'm trying to figure out what it is that triggers them to come out, whether it's the smell of the rain or whether the rain has finally penetrated the soil enough that they can be released. I don't know which it is. Nobody's been able to figure that out yet. The males get to the pool first, and they are partying. They rub against one another, and they're just so happy to be out of the woods and into the pool. And Grove, you see the little white squares that are in the front? Those are spermatophores. And the boys lay these packets of sperm on the floor of the pool. And they will, after they've done it and they've been in the pool maybe 1 or 2 days, they'll leave. The girls come to, they're together, but they don't mate together. The females will go over to the sperm packs, pick them up in their cloacia, which is where she has all her eggs stored. It will dissolve and fertilize her eggs in her body. So she goes around the pool and picks out which spermatophore she wants to use. Grove, these are wood frog eggs in the darker color, and the white packets are the yellow spotted salamander eggs, and they will lay them together. Now, if you're going to do egg counts, it's better if you can get to the pools earlier, because the eggs are clearer to define and figure out whose they are. I'll go to this. This is a salamander tadpole. And as you can see, Grove, the feathers on his back, they look exactly like wood frog tadpoles, and this is the difference that you look for. If you see those feathery gills, you know you've got a salamander. That looks like it's, I'm not going to guess on which kind it is. It looks like it's a yellow spot to me, but I'm not sure. Okay, we'll get back to the the egg packs. Now see, these eggs have turned white, so they are babies that have died. But as the egg pack gets older, it gets softer, and the algae covers it. So as you wait to the end of the season, it's harder to tell the difference because they all get looser and have this algae on them. These packs are very important. When the little tadpoles hatch, they will eat the algae that's in the egg case. That's their nutrition. Mom isn't around to feed them. They also use it for safety. They hide in it and over it and around it from their predators until they get hopefully big enough to become adults and go off into the woods on their own. This is a very handsome blue-spotted salamander. Isn't he gorgeous? And this is a juvenile. Now the blue colors on them in the water, it's almost an iridescent color. They're much harder to see because they blend in with all the leaf litter. This is one reason, well, there's several reasons why you don't want a lot of people tromping through the pool, because there's eggs everywhere, on the floor, in the middle, on top. There's salamanders, especially during big night, crawling all around. They're under the leaves. You don't know who you're stepping on. You've got to be very careful. You don't want to disturb them. We have a pool in Bolton where we actually built a boardwalk out so that people can watch from the boardwalk without disturbing anything. And it's been very successful. And not as many people fall in the water. Now this is a Jefferson salamander, and he has mated, he and the blue-spotted salamanders are now mating, and we don't know why. So their identification is a little trickier because you know, depending on how old they are, and that one can be a little harder. Here's another picture of a salamander with those wonderful gills. He's got his front legs. So if you catch a tadpole that has the feathers on it, put it back. You shouldn't take any of these critters into pools. Sometimes I will take a few from a particular pool to bring into a school to show the kids. As soon as I'm done, they go right back to the exact same pool. We don't want to disturb their genetics by mixing species and pools up, because it can make a big difference. These are the things the scientists are learning. This is a very fat, stout, marbled salamander, and she is very different from others because she lays her eggs near a pool in the fall before the water comes in. She doesn't do it in the spring. Maybe it's too crowded. She's decided she'd rather do it in the fall. I don't know. But she will stay with her eggs and guard them until the water comes in. And then the males will come along and fertilize them. Her eggs will stay in the pool all winter. So you say to yourself, how come they don't die? I mean, the pool is really frozen. And I guess they secrete like a antifreeze to protect the eggs. So it's really fascinating. Here is one species of critters, and look at the differences in them. You wonder where they went off on that branch to divide and do different things. What made them do it? This is one single egg that's just ready to pop. And they're just like a little baby chicken. When there's no more room in the little cell, and they're hungry and they're saying, I got to get out of here. And so they start pushing and wiggling until they break the case open. Now, this is the second character that lives in a vernal pool. By the way, the wood frog, the salamanders, and the fairy shrimp are all obligate. That means this is the only place they go. There are other critters that can go to other places to have their babies, but it will not be certified as a vernal pool. If you find one or all three or two of these characters in a pool, it can be certified as a vernal pool. You don't have to have them all in the pool. The fairy shrimp, I have found, will breed in a much more primitive pool than the others. And I'm trying to figure out why on that one, whether it's the acidity of the water or I don't know. There's usually no vegetation. in a pool where you see these. Because they're so tiny, they're about, oh, as big as your little fingernail. They're very, very hard to see. You really have to have, I bring white buckets and scoop, and it's much easier to see. Once you learn how to look for them in the pool, they're easy to find. Depends on how much acid tannic is in the water and the color. But they are marvelous creatures. They are just so much fun to watch swimming. This is a female who has her egg sac in the middle. And as you see, she has like a vest on in front of her. These are like little wings. I don't know how to describe them. Feathers, I guess, would be better. And they undulate them, and they just sort of float and glide through the water. It is the most wonderful thing to watch them. As I said, they're so tiny, very often you don't even see them, and of course that's good for them. Okay, this one is not obligate, so why don't we stop right here, and you can take a little break, and we'll go on with some of these other characters that live in the pools and the areas, okay? Okay, these characters are all others that can use the pool, that use swamps and marshes as well. This is a four-toed salamander, and she will lay her eggs in sphagnum moss or in hummocks. And so she's more apt to be in a swamp or a marsh. There will be maybe 4 or 5 ladies all with their eggs in this hummock. I have personally not come across one, nor do I want to, because if you open the hummock up to find them, they'll leave. And I don't want to disturb them. It's a grass, it's a sedge hummock that's a clump that's in the swamps. That's for the scientists to do. You know, when they're doing their studies on these sort of things, just so you know what it is. But there again, now see, she uses a hummock to lay her eggs in. She doesn't use the pool. There's water there, and it's damp, but it's not the same. And it just fascinates me how they vary. You should certainly all know who this is. To the left, the brown one is an adult New England newt. You will see them in the aquarium stores, and those are the ones that you can buy for your aquariums. The one to the right is a juvenile. The interesting thing about these characters is that they are born in a pool. The red eft, as they are called, will leave the birth pool and go into the woods for a year or so and develop a set of lungs and go back to the pool where she lives for the rest of her life. If you turn over a rotten log in the woods or leaf litter in the woods, you will see this little red character. And they will actually go a mile, 2 miles away from their birth pool. That's a lot of hiking for a little guy like that. The reason they're red is, what does red mean? Danger, right. So the other predators have learned that this is not a good guy to eat. And that's his protection. He gives off a oozy substance that doesn't taste very good, and they don't like it. So they learn very quickly that this isn't anybody you want to eat. This is the little redback salamander, and you should all be familiar with this guy. He lives in a log. Now they spend their whole life in a log. They raise their eggs and everything. So if you turn over a log, this is the one you will see. The reason they're in a log is because it's damp in the log. There again, they have to have the moisture to keep dry. So if you turn over a log and you're lucky enough to see one of these fellas, I am always very, very, very careful to make sure that I put it back exactly the same way, because you don't want to disturb them. It's like a tornado hitting your house and destroying it. I mean, that's, you know, and they're such shy, wonderful little critters. There again, if people go into the woods and they say, oh, here's a rotten log, let's get rid of it, you're destroying homes for so many critters. And we've got to learn not to be so neat when we're in the woods. This is the little spring peeper, and he will very often sing along the same time as the wood frog, and he's the one that goes beep, 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 beep. Now, the little spring peeper is as big as my thumbnail, and he is dark brown. He's very well camouflaged. He can be by the edge of the pool as well as in the pool. The minute you get near any pool, the frogs will shush, because they don't want you to know where they are. These are the hardest little guys to see because they don't move. And you might have one right beside your shoe and you don't even know it, but he is not going to move. So if you see one of those, they're really cute, and it's really a treat to see one. This is our American toad. Now, we don't usually see him in the daytime because he's another one that has to stay moist, but he doesn't live in a pool, so he only comes out at night, generally. One day in my backyard, I saw this pot of soil moving around, and I thought, what in the world is going on? And it was a toad that had made her home in my pot. And this is the Fowler toad, which is, we don't usually see him. He is around. If you see one of these guys, call the Heritage Program immediately. This is a spadefoot toad. We don't have him around here, but I think he's the cutest character. And he does something that's really unique. You see, he lives in a sandy area, and if you look at his back feet, they're webbed. They're really pointy. And he can do the neatest trick. When the soil is moist and he wants to get away from danger, he will just spin around like a whirly top and dig a hole right down in the sand and disappear. Now, another very interesting thing about him is he lays his eggs in a puddle after a real big summer storm. It takes his eggs 5 days to go from eggs to adults. That's the only amount of time they have before that pool evaporates to mature. Isn't that amazing? And this is the leopard frog. Now he has a lot of copper color on him. He and the pickerel frog look very, very similar, so they're hard to tell them apart. But if he has a lot of copper color on him, you know he's the leopard. This is the pickerel. And it's, as I said, they're very hard to tell apart. Here's your little green frog. And here is your great big bullfrog, who will do their chugga-rump for their territory. The bullfrog tadpole is big. He's the biggest tadpole there is. And if you go to a pond or a pool in the springtime and you see one that's huge compared to the others, that's a bullfrog tadpole. It takes them 2 years to grow up. They hibernate for one winter and come back out to finish growing. So you will automatically know that that's what that is. And this is our little tree toad. And he's camouflaged right now, and he will change colors according to the bark that he's on. And he's the cutest little thing. He has little, well, how do I describe it? Little suction cups on his fingers and his toes. You can see they're more rounded on the ends. And he can climb up windows and houses by just moving those pads and attaching. They're very hard to see because they hide under the bark of some of the different trees. And it's like the spring peeper. I mean, if you find one, it's really a treat because they're very, very hard to see. But they're there. Now, this is a dragonfly nymph. These critters are all some of the insects that you will see in these pools. There are a lot of insects that start life in the pond as an egg. When he matures, and all of these insects will eat the frog eggs or the little tadpoles as they hatch, so that they can get big. So the whole thing in a pool is who eats who. It's really something. And this is a dragonfly as a nymph in the pool. They will climb out of the pool. They go through a metamorphosis similar to a butterfly, only it's different, but they go through different stages. They will come out of the pool and attach themselves to a cattail or a grass. They stay on that for 2 days until they readjust to the air and get their wings pumped and get everything going. So that's their most vulnerable period for birds coming along to pick them off. But you can, if you hit it at the right time, you can just see them loaded all over the bankings of the rivers and the marshes. It's really neat to see. And this is the caddisfly, who you will see a lot in the vernal pools. This is a log cabin. As you see, he's a little bug. Can you see him in the front? And he attaches saliva and little pieces of twigs to him as protection until he gets bigger. Now here's another one, and this one's called a leaf roller. He uses a leaf to roll around his body. But you will usually in a vernal pool, you will see even the log cabin cases floating on top. So you know you've probably got a vernal pool too. It's another indicator. And you see the little clams there? This is a Dobson fly. And I have a sample of one over here that broke out of his case when he died. But this is what they look like when they're in the water. This is a back swimmer, and what's interesting is he will go up to the surface of the water and find a little pocket of air and breathe that in and then go back down into the pool. This is a water bug, and do you know what's on her back? Eggs. She carries her babies on her back till they can hatch, and that's her eggs protection. Isn't that tricky? This is a water strider. He looks like a stick. Some people call it a stick bug. And he likes to eat lots of things too. This is a midge larva. Some people call them bloodworms. They're very red, so you can spot them. But it's just neat to see all these things. Oh, they're about this big. They're not anything to get worried about. And this is an isopod. And here's another water boatman. Have any of you seen the little water striders that go across the top of the water? That's pretty tricky. Wouldn't you like to be able to do that? But they have to scoot along because it's the surface tension on the top of the water that keeps them up. If the tension breaks, they'll sink and then they die. But they're fun to watch, and the boatman's spinning around, and it's just neat. Now we all know who this is, don't we? Huh? Painted turtle. And I'm very happy that a lot of the turtles are not being sold so much in the aquarium shops. But this one is, you should all know who that is. That's duckweed behind him. This is a spotted turtle, a yellow spotted turtle. You might see these and you might not. If you see one of those, call the heritage people. They're trying to find out where they are. We're beginning to see more now that we know what we're looking for and doing some research. This is a wood turtle. I have never seen one. But see, their pattern is so different. And this is my buddy, the Blandings turtle. And her shell is very much higher. It's shaped like a helmet. And I actually found one that was the size of a dinner plate. And you can tell not only because she has a little muted white spots on her back, but she is yellow under her chin and under her arms.